You could feel the frustration coming off the field from the Ravens last night, and honestly, it was hard to watch for anyone who's been following this team all season. Lamar Jackson had a rough night, and it was one of those games where you just look at the stat sheet and realize nothing went right. 17 completions on 32 attempts for 246 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. And to fumbles, it's not something you see often from a quarterback of his caliber. And it wasn't just the numbers, it was the way plays fell apart. The way the offense seemed incapable of sustaining drives. And how a defense that had been struggling all year managed to completely take over. The Cincinnati Bengals came into this game statistically at the bottom of the league in almost every defensive category, yet somehow they dominated Baltimore on every level, forcing turnovers, controlling the clock, and taking advantage of mistakes that shouldn't have been happening at this stage of the season. From the opening drive, it looked like the Ravens could find a rhythm. There were glimpses, small moments where the offense seemed poised to move the ball, where the running game looked like it could establish some momentum, but every time, it got stripped away. Turnovers, penalties, miscommunications, and questionable decisions kept swinging the momentum back to Cincinnati, and by the second half, it felt like Baltimore was chasing shadows. Derrick Henry was getting some yardage on the ground, breaking off long runs when given the opportunity. But there was this inexplicable hesitation in play calling where he wasn't getting consistent touches. You had a running game that, for stretches, was working, and then suddenly, it disappeared for 3 straight possessions. Meanwhile, the passing game couldn't get on track. Balls sailing over receivers' heads, misses on throws that normally would be routine, and that growing tension from Lamar that was impossible to ignore. You could see the frustration in every decision, every snap, as if he was battling both the defense and the mounting pressure of expectations he carries every week. It's not just Lamar, though. This performance points to deeper issues across the team. 5 turnovers in a single game. That's always going to end in defeat. And the way the Ravens fell apart illustrates how thin the margin for error is. When you face a team like the Bengals, even if they were historically struggling in certain areas, the offensive line struggled at key moments, the play calling didn't seem to make sense at times. And even though there were plays that should have resulted in big gains or touchdowns, execution failed. Isaiah likely had a chance for a major scoring play, only for it to be thwarted by a fumble. And there were moments where throws over defenders could have changed the game if they were placed just right. But that's the nature of football. Every opportunity counts, and when you leave it on the field, the scoreboard reflects it. Watching this stretch of games over the past 3 weeks, a pattern starts to emerge that's concerning. Against the Jets, the offense struggled for the majority of the game. Against the Browns, they started slow and only began finding some rhythm late in the matchup. Now, against Cincinnati, it was almost a complete breakdown from start to finish. This isn't just a single game anomaly. This has been an ongoing issue where the offense looks incapable of sustaining drives or putting consistent points on the board. And while injuries and offensive line issues certainly play a role, the frustration from Lamar and the lack of execution at key moments put the spotlight on everyone. From the players to the coaching staff, you could see the accountability from John Harbaugh, which was refreshing. Hearing him acknowledge that this game falls on him as much as anyone else on the field shows that there is at least awareness that the message and execution need work. The reality is, winning cures everything, and when the Ravens have been able to take care of business, a lot of the drama fades into the background. But when you lose in a game like this, the frustration and shortcomings that have been bubbling beneath the surface come crashing forward. Lamar Jackson's talent is undeniable. His accolades, MVP awards, and career accomplishments speak for themselves, but even elite players have games where nothing clicks, and last night, nothing clicked. He wasn't accurate, the timing was off, and you could see that he wasn't fully trusting the protection in the pocket, which only compounds the issues. Happy feet, second guessing, and being banged up physically or mentally can all snowball into a performance that looks nowhere near the standard he has set over his career. Yet, even in a game like this, it's crucial to remember that this does not define Lamar Jackson as a quarterback. He is still one of the most dynamic and talented players in the league, but last night, he and the team were simply outplayed and out-executed in a way that leaves a lot of questions for the weeks ahead. It's not just a quarterback situation, though. The play calling, the rotation of the running backs, and the utilization of the offensive line all come under scrutiny when games like this happen. Shannon Sharpe called it out perfectly. noting how the game plan didn't align with what was happening on the field. When you have a running game that's producing, yet your primary back isn't on the field consistently, or when routes are run that don't make logical sense against a defensive alignment, it's confusing and frustrating for everyone involved. And when you combine that with turnovers, misreads, and defensive domination by a team that was statistically among the worst in the league in certain areas, the collapse seems even more glaring. Even so, there were flashes of the old Lamar Jackson scrambles that resulted in big gains, moments of vision and athleticism that remind you of why he's still considered one of the premier quarterbacks in the league, but those moments were too few and far between to matter in the context of this loss. The Ravens had opportunities to take control, yet they couldn't capitalize. And it's that inability to seize the moment that has become a recurring theme. Whether it's missed throws, offensive line struggles, or questionable coaching decisions, the result is the same: a team that looks inconsistent, frustrated, and incapable of sustaining drives against an opponent that should have been more manageable. Looking at the broader picture, this isn't a moment to panic, but it is a moment to examine the cracks. Lamar Jackson remains elite, Derrick Henry and the running game still show promise, and there are talented receivers who can make plays, yet the combination of injuries, inconsistent play calling, and turnovers has created a perfect storm for disappointment. As fans, it's painful to watch, especially when you know the potential is there, but the execution simply isn't. Accountability from the coaching staff, clarity in the offensive game plan, and a fully healthy Lamar Jackson are all factors that will need to align for this team to truly get back on track. Until then, games like this one against the Bengals serve as a stark reminder that even the most talented teams can unravel when the details aren't handled correctly. As we move past this disappointing loss, there's no escaping the reality that the Ravens are at a crossroads. 3 consecutive games where the offense has looked off, uncoordinated, and unable to find a rhythm cannot be ignored. It's not just about statistics or turnovers, it's about identity and execution. Baltimore is a team built around a dynamic quarterback and a powerful running game. Yet when the synergy between those elements disappears, the weaknesses are magnified, and the margin for error shrinks to almost nothing. You could see it in the way the Bengals controlled the clock. Almost 40 minutes of possession, systematically draining every ounce of momentum the Ravens tried to generate for a team like Baltimore, which has historically relied on time of possession and controlling the pace. This was a shock to the system, a reminder that no lead, no strategy, and no talent on paper can compensate for inconsistent execution and mental lapses on the field. Lamar Jackson's struggles were evident not just in the stat sheet, but in his body language and decision-making. A quarterback of his caliber has a high ceiling and high expectations, and when he misses throws that are normally automatic, it exposes the offense in ways that go far beyond a single game. The misses over open receivers' heads, the timing errors, the hesitation in the pocket, they all compounded one another, and yet it's clear that these struggles are not occurring in a vacuum. The offensive line has been inconsistent. The game plan occasionally seems out of sync with what the defense is showing, and there are still questions about how injuries and wear and tear are affecting the team's core players. This is not a narrative about blame, but about understanding the multiple factors that converge to produce a performance that was far below Baltimore's usual standard. Coaching also comes under the microscope in games like this. John Harbaugh acknowledged responsibility, which is notable, because accountability from a head coach can set the tone for the entire organization. Yet, the play calling and strategic decisions remain a source of concern. Derrick Henry had explosive runs, yet the distribution of touches and the timing of those carries seemed inconsistent. The running game was working, but suddenly it was abandoned at critical points, leaving the quarterback under pressure and the passing game scrambling to compensate. In situations like these, it's not enough to have talent. Execution and coordination are paramount. When the Ravens fail to leverage their strengths, even against a team that should have presented vulnerabilities, the deficiencies become glaring and the results predictable. The criticism from analysts like Shannon Sharp hit on something important. It's okay to acknowledge that Lamar Jackson did not play well. Being a 2-time MVP does not shield a player from scrutiny when the team's performance suffers, and it's essential for the Ravens to confront these moments honestly. Lamar is still one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the league, capable of extraordinary plays and game-changing performances. But even elite athletes have games where nothing goes right. Admitting this is not diminishing his career. It's contextualizing a single performance within the broader trajectory of the season. And the league. It's about understanding how one game fits into patterns, recognizing areas that need adjustment, and applying that insight moving forward. Turnovers were a major factor in the loss, but so was the inability to sustain drives. The Ravens struggled on third down, converting only 3 out of 10 opportunities, and their possessions frequently ended abruptly, handing momentum back to the Bengals. When you combine that with a defense that, despite improvements in recent weeks, could not compensate for the mistakes on offense, it creates a perfect storm for defeat. Time of possession, third down efficiency, and execution in the red zone. All of these are critical components of winning football. And when they falter simultaneously, the results are harsh. Yet, the Ravens have shown resilience before, and the potential to bounce back is very real, provided the coaching staff and players can identify and correct the issues exposed in this game. Looking at individual performances, Derrick Henry showed flashes of his old dominance, but the inconsistency in touches and game plan management limited his impact. Isaiah likely had opportunities to make big plays, yet turnovers prevented those moments from translating into points. The receivers, while talented, were not consistently able to connect with Lamar, whether due to miscommunication, missed throws, or defensive pressure. The pieces are there, but they weren't synchronized in a way that allowed the Ravens to sustain momentum or capitalize on opportunities. This is a team capable of explosive, dynamic football. But when the fundamentals slip, even a talented roster looks vulnerable. The psychological aspect cannot be overlooked either. Lamar Jackson has carried the team on his shoulders for years. And when performances like this occur, frustration inevitably builds. Players begin second-guessing decisions, hesitation creeps into their movements, and even the most skilled athletes struggle to maintain the confidence needed for execution. The team's morale is tested in these moments, and how they respond can define the trajectory of the season. Wins can mask deeper issues, but losses like this expose them fully, providing a roadmap for what needs to be addressed in practice, in game planning, and in mental preparation. Accountability from the coaching staff is equally critical. John Harbaugh acknowledging responsibility is a positive step, but it also highlights the need for reflection and adjustment in strategy. Play calling that doesn't align with on-field success, hesitation in running the football, and inconsistent use of personnel all point to areas where clarity and decisiveness are needed. The Ravens have elite talent across the board, but football is ultimately a game of execution. When the pieces aren't functioning together, the results reflect that, regardless of individual skill or past accolades. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. The NFL world is buzzing with an unprecedented shock. Whispers have emerged that the league has stepped in to cancel the highly anticipated matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals. Sources close to team insiders suggest that the decision stems from suspicions of irregularities surrounding the game. Though details remain murky and speculation is running wild, fans, players, and analysts alike are left in disbelief. The Ravens and Bengals have been fierce competitors for years, and any disruption to their clash sends ripples across the football community. While the NFL has remained tight-lipped, insiders hint that the issues may involve procedural inconsistencies, controversial play calls, or even questions about officiating protocols. The exact nature of the alleged irregularities is being guarded closely, fueling further rumors and conjecture in locker rooms and social media feeds. Theories are multiplying. Some argue that this could mark one of the rarest interventions in league history, raising questions about accountability and transparency in professional football. Others wonder if the cancellation is a precautionary measure, while the league investigates deeper issues that could affect not only the two teams, but the integrity of the season itself. Players, meanwhile, have reportedly been shaken by the news. For many, the Ravens-Bengals rivalry is more than just a game. It's a statement of dominance in a highly competitive division. The sudden cancellation leaves athletes in limbo, with training regimens disrupted and the usual adrenaline rush of game day replaced by uncertainty. Coaches are said to be scrambling for clarity, trying to maintain focus amid swirling speculation and mounting pressure from fans eager for answers. Social media has erupted with wild theories and heated debates. Pundits question whether the cancellation signals a larger problem within the league, or is simply an isolated incident. The NFL's intervention is being dissected at every level, with journalists and commentators trying to piece together the motives behind what many are calling a game-changing decision off the field. As the story develops, one thing is clear: the Ravens-Bengals clash will not proceed as expected, and the sports world is left holding its breath. Whether this is a temporary suspension pending investigation or a deeper scandal, the repercussions are likely to reverberate far beyond the teams involved. For now, fans can only speculate, debate, and wait for the league to lift the veil on one of the most curious disruptions in recent NFL history. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.